Just like last week, the king faced a heckler.
Charles, how long have you known about Andrew and
When Prince Andrew was relocated from Royal Lodge to a property on the Sandringham estate in early 2025, the British press used the word exile. Repeatedly. It appeared in headlines, analysis pieces, royal commentary.
Comments on the right which exonerate him by saying he hasn't actually done anything. What do you think about Andrew? And should he be cut loose from the royal family completely? Should he be kicked out of his house?
Yeah, look, all I know is this was a guy who stated very...
Have you met him, by the way?
I met him.
The framing was consistent. Andrew had been banished, removed, cast out.
In the last minute or so from Buckingham Palace, His Majesty the King has today initiated a formal process to remove the style, titles and honours.
But if you look at what actually happened structurally rather than reputationally, the word exile does not fit. This was not banishment. This was containment. And understanding the difference tells you how modern monarchies manage damage without creating spectacle. Let me clarify the timeline because timing matters here. Royal Lodge is a 30-room Grade 2 listed property in Windsor Great Park. Andrew had lived there since 2004 under a 75-year lease from the Crown Estate. In 2022, after the settlement of the civil assault case brought by Virginia Giuffre King Charles began quietly pressuring Andrew to vacate Royal Lodge. The reason was financial and symbolic. The property costs hundreds of thousands of pounds annually to maintain. Andrew had no official income. The optics of a disgraced royal living in a mansion larger than most working royals was untenable.
Royal since 2019.
The hell is a working royal?
I know. Which one of them got a job?
This isn't a job.
For 2 years, Andrew resisted. He reportedly offered to fund the upkeep himself through private means, though it was never clear where that money would come from. By late 2024, the pressure intensified. Reports emerged in November 2024 that Charles had cut Andrew's annual private allowance, which was estimated at around £1 million. Without that funding, Andrew could not maintain Royal Lodge. The lease technically remained, but the financial leverage was gone. In January 2025, multiple outlets confirmed Andrew had agreed to relocate to Wood Farm, a 5-bedroom property on the Sandringham estate in Norfolk. The move was described as voluntary in official statements. Observers called it forced. Either way, it happened. And it happened because King Charles used financial control, not formal decree, to make staying at Royal Lodge unsustainable. Here is what changed in the days surrounding the confirmation. The move was not announced by Buckingham Palace. It was reported by royal correspondents citing unnamed sources. There was no official statement framing it as punishment or exile. The palace simply did not comment. This absence of formal narrative is itself significant. The institution did not frame the move as disciplinary because doing so would require acknowledging Andrew's status within a structure he had already been removed from years earlier.
Major news involving Britain's royal family. Prince Andrew losing his military titles. The royals further distancing themselves from Andrew as he fights that sexual assault lawsuit right here in the U.S. James Longman is at Buckingham Palace with the latest. Good morning, James.
Andrew lost his military affiliations and royal patronages in January 2022. He stopped using the title His Royal Highness in any official capacity at the same time. These were material removals. They meant he could not represent the monarchy, could not wear military uniform except by special permission, could not use the institutional infrastructure of the royal family for public work. That was the actual exile if we are using the term properly. The move from Royal Lodge to Wood Farm 3 years later was a real estate adjustment. Let me define what exile means in royal terms historically. Exile is removal from proximity to power. It is physical distance that translates to political irrelevance. When Edward VIII abdicated in 1936, he was sent to France. He was given the title Duke of Windsor, but prohibited from returning to Britain without permission. That is exile. When Princess Margaret was pressured not to marry Group Captain Peter Townsend in 1955, he was sent to Brussels as heir attaché. That is exile. Physical distance. Loss of access. Forced separation from the seat of power. Andrew was moved from Windsor to Norfolk. Both are royal properties. Both are private residences owned or controlled by the Crown Estate. The distance from London to Sandringham is 110 miles. Royal Lodge to Buckingham Palace is 23 miles. The difference is not operationally significant. Andrew had no official duties to perform in London. No representational role that required proximity to Windsor or the capital. He was not removed from power because he had already been removed from power in 2022. The move to Sandringham was about visibility, not access. This is where the framing becomes important. Reputational exile and material exile are not the same thing. Reputationally, Andrew is exiled. He is invisible. He does not appear at public events. He is not photographed at state occasions. When he does appear, such as at Christmas church services at Sandringham or private family gatherings, the coverage is negative. The public perception is that he has been cast out. And in terms of public role, he has been. Materially, however, Andrew remains within the structure. He lives on a royal estate. He is financially supported by the king, albeit privately and reportedly at a reduced level. He retains his title Duke of York. He is 9th in line to the throne. He is still a member of the royal family in every legal and structural sense. He simply has no public function. That is not exile. That is removal of platform while retaining membership. What people missed was that the move to Sandringham was not about punishing Andrew. It was about reducing his visibility while keeping him contained within royal properties where his movements and appearance could be controlled. If Andrew had been forced to leave royal properties entirely to live in a private residence purchased or rented on the open market, he would be outside the institutional structure. He could move freely, appear publicly, speak to media. The palace would have no leverage. By keeping him on Sandringham, the institution maintains proximity and therefore control. Here is the contrarian insight. This was not punishment in the traditional sense. Punishment implies consequences for behavior. Andrew settled a civil case. He was not convicted of a crime. He was not charged with a crime. The removal of titles and patronages in 2022 was institutional protection, not legal penalty. The move from Royal Lodge to Wood Farm in 2025 was financial pressure leading to relocation. It was framed as exile because exile implies severity. It implies the monarchy took strong action. But strong action would have been complete severance. Removal of title. Removal of line of succession. Removal from all royal properties. That did not happen. What happened was strategic narrowing. Andrew's life was made smaller. His access was reduced. His visibility was minimized. But he was not cast out. This reveals something important about how modern monarchies manage liability. Historically, exile was dramatic. It was public. It was final. Modern monarchies do not operate that way. They cannot. Public banishment creates spectacle. Spectacle invites scrutiny. Scrutiny invites questions about who has power and how it is used. Instead, the institution narrows access gradually. It removes platforms. It reduces funding. It relocates individuals to properties that are private and controlled. The result looks like exile. It functions like containment. What this case shows is that the monarchy does not need to banish someone to neutralize them. It only needs to make them irrelevant. Andrew was made irrelevant in 2022 when his titles and patronages were removed. The move to Sandringham in 2025 was confirmation of that irrelevance, not creation of it. The press called it exile because exile is dramatic. But dramatic is not accurate. Accurate is this. Andrew was moved from one royal property to another. He remains a member of the royal family. He has no public role. He will not regain one. That is not exile. That is how modern monarchies manage people they cannot defend but will not abandon.